This is an article in which a television executive, says that he believes that the next James Bond will not be white. That's his summation. He says, the next James Bond won't be white, according to one industry executive, as the hunt for the 007 intensifies. I think it's going to be at least a year before we get into the final stages of that. 2 years since No Time to Die was released, and Bond kingpins Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli do not have all the time in the world to decide on the trajectory of the next character of James Bond. And then he goes and he says, I think the days of a white Bond are over. This is the TV executive. He says this now. He says, I think the days of a white Bond are over. You could look at the recent casting of Doctor Who as a bellwether in that respect. He's not wrong.
I was just going to say, I mean,
I just don't know why you have to have this mindset when going into casting decisions or even just analysis. Just like have an audition and the best person... The
if
problem
it's top down, then you can't even have people in there that are.
Yep. Yeah. Here's the problem: the moment you even entertain that idea, it becomes a thought in your head, which means it's part of the decision-making process.
Unless you don't have an inner monologue.
unless we have to literally go back in time to a time where this just wasn't part of the public consciousness. Then you could talk about colorblind casting. Now, to say hire the best person, which is what most of these things are saying, you're still considering it when you discuss it, right? So, we got a $20 one from Daniel Kiesau. Says, I'm 2 episodes late with this. I bought a ticket for Fast X and then watched The Little Mermaid. I did it for Frozen 2 as well. I'm never giving Disney my money again. I'm still going to watch their movies if I want to. Amen, man. Mary would say, if she was here, she would say, like, are we allowed to tell people to steal? She always asks that question. She goes, are we allowed to encourage it? I said, I don't know. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you to do that, but I will tell you that you don't need to, because we will go and review them, and then you can just listen to us talk about them. That way you don't have to give them your money.
No, every movie theater has its own policy. So I would just read the fine print on the ticket you buy.
Because it's also a thing where, like, from what I understand, Disney gets more return on the tickets than other studios because they have more bargaining power. So like the average studio keeps like they don't like the studio doesn't keep all of the money. Obviously the theater keeps some of the money. So
that would be really interesting if like you just bought like a general admission ticket to a theater and it goes like it works for any actual movie that's playing.
That's not how it works.
No, so 50 so most of the tickets it's 50-50. So Disney keeps 50 and the theater keeps 50, but I think Disney keeps 60 and the theater keeps 40, and other ones it's 50-50 or something.
Dude, I was always told working at a movie theater that they kept 0, and that's why the concession stands were so expensive. Maybe they lied to me.
Rick C in the chat says, stop giving Disney your money, Brett. I would do that, but people keep telling us to review the stuff. Listen, and then you want our opinions on it. It's part of my job.
It's not Brett doing it. It's a certain alter ego.
Yes,
that's
exactly my woke alter ego. He's not. He's never too far away. In his like with his Nintendo Switch making that stupid pose that they all make with the open mouth.
Do the Nintendo Switches have cameras on them?
I don't know.
If they do, you should live stream next movie.
So it says, however, so he continues, he says, I'd be particularly surprised if a white clipped upper middle class English actor, that would be a bold move. I think it would be suicidal for the Broccoli franchise. Like, I think he's disconnected from reality. I think it's suicidal to just assume that you can change something that inherent to the character and expect there not to be pushback. Or at the very least, by changing it, you're creating an uphill battle for yourself by turning the audience inherently against you.
Broccoli franchise?
That's Barbara Broccoli is the one who owns the name to James Bond with MGM.
That's so crazy.
Mary thought that was hilarious. She was like, "It's a last name. Give me a break."
I mean,
her name's also Barbara, like Barbara Broccoli.
It's very hard to say. Conflicting consonants.
Also, what the hell does clipped mean?
What do you mean clipped?
Clipped. It says a clipped white upper class English male.
Let me look.
What does that mean?
Like well cut, maybe.
Is that what that means?
Maybe.
No, let me find
I would guess.
And here's the other thing. Like my stance on this has always been the same. I believe that the reason that they floated the idea of Lashana Lynch as James Bond and doing like, what if we do a female James Bond? And plenty of actors and actresses
Jane
alike
Bond
have come out and said that that's a stupid idea, just create new characters. I think it's their own version of the big sell, where they're like, well, what if we give you a trans James Bond or a female James Bond? That way, when you just get the race swap James Bond, you're like, oh, whatever. Right. Like that. Like
Trans Bond.
People are exactly. People are transponder. They're still saying Idris Elba, and I did put a poll up in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to go and answer that one, I asked, is Idris Elba too old to play James Bond? He's 52 or 51, I believe.
Yes.
He is too old.
I don't think so.
He is too old.
You can't be James Bond at 52.
You can't be starting James Bond at 52. You can end your career as James Bond at 52.
Yeah, I guess if you have 20 years being James Bond, and then you're like, this is my retiring movie.
I don't know. Betty White would have been a good James Bond.
What?
You're a horrible troll. You're a horrible troll. Because they're expecting them to make 4 or 5 movies, so they expect them to be 35 to 40 at the oldest to start that role, right? And Idris Elba's on the older side of that.
You're not going to see like a 70-year-old guy beating people up and.
I mean, yes, you are. But that happens all the time now.
How awesome
that happens all the time now.
But he doesn't have any superpowers.
With Taken and.
That's what I was thinking of.
That's my favorite.
He had a special set of skills that made people dangerous to him. Dangerous.
What if that was Liam Neeson as James Bond? It's just the same.
He could.
He's the only one I would buy.
That would be amazing. He's not even. He's not American, so he could do that. He just plays an American character.
So many of my daughters got taken multiple times, and I decided to become James Bond.
Do you know what? You know what was actually good, and I think I might be the only person in the world who ever watched this show. There was actually a Taken TV show that was actually kind of good. Had Jennifer Beal in it. It was actually pretty good. I mean.
How many people get taken?
Okay, good might be a little bit of an overstatement.
He's in charge of like a whole class's field trip, and all these kids get taken.
Basically, yeah. Like it's like, did anybody ever see the? No, nobody ever saw that but me. But look, it was.
I might have. What is it?
It was. It wasn't. It was called 13. It was a UK series that was on a long time ago, starring Stuart Townshend.
Kino guy was talking about that.
Was he?
Yeah, I was down. Well, not
No
here.
way.
I was talking to him making espresso. We had like an hour-long conversation about stuff, and I think he was doing something with that movie.
There's no way he was too. It's not a movie. It was a TV show.
So maybe I lied.
It would have
Maybe
been something else. That's not avant-garde enough for him. He's super avant-garde. So, but here's somebody else says. However, another anonymous. I like how they're anonymous. Like if you want to talk about these issues, they have to do the thing like on 60 Minutes where they put you in shadow and then change your voice to say something that might be controversial in Hollywood now because they all hold a damn grudge. It says, however, another anonymous TV executive disagreed, saying that he would be surprised if Bond wasn't white, and pointed that the previous experience was a much more pressing factor, which is what Broccoli had said. I think it's going to be Regé Jean Page from Bridgerton. That's still my guess. I think they end up hiring him. He's younger. He's got the dapper look. I think it's the progressive story they want to do. And I do. Anytime Hollywood manages to get something right and not screw something up, it always proves to be an accident. Like everyone wants to think that Hollywood's going to change their mind and start listening. And I don't think that that's what happens. I think they screw up and we get lucky once in a while and they don't screw something up. But I think they end up screwing this up probably. But a lot of people are saying Aaron Taylor Johnson from Bullet Train. If anybody here saw Bullet Train, he's a possibility.
I just don't get James Bond vibes.
I saw
from
a
him.
quarter of an episode of Bridgerton before turning it off because it was too boring. So I can't imagine that being a success, but maybe that's just me.
Whatever it is, not Richard Madden. I know there's somebody watching who's not Richard Madden. He's not good in Citadel. Citadel's bad to begin with, and that was his litmus test to play a spy. Not Richard Madden, please. I'd rather have Sebastian Stan play that guy. Other people are saying Tom Hiddleston.
Maybe I could say he's too much of a. He's been penciled in as a bad guy for too long.
Because of Loki.
I think so.
He played a similar type of character in The Night Manager. Not the same, but a similar type character.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of different people they can choose.
Did you ever see Wallander with Kenneth Branagh? Tom Hiddleston was in the early seasons of that. It's quite good. The show is really drab and faded and depressing. Like I needed Prozac after watching it, but it was quite interesting. It's based on a book series. So, somebody says Henry Cavill. I think Henry Cavill is too tall, and I think he's too muscular. I think he would need to shed some of the muscle tone. He'd have to be more unassuming looking, like built but not
Well, I guess that's
right. You
that's
really can't have a Jack guy in a suit.
I mean, that's a solid question, though. It's like, why don't they expand? Like, Kingsman is really cool.
That's
because it's
a lot of people were mentioning that.
It's a whole spy network. It's like, why can't they expand? Maybe 007 like retires and builds like a new organization or something. Like, I don't want to ruin the storyline, but also open up avenues to tell new stories.
They should have fat James Bond.
Dude, Kevin James is James Bond.
Kevin James, dude, and then he's serving the King of Queens, the Queen of England.
Oh, my
that's
God.
Amazing.
Dude, we just look.
Leia Remini is Moneypenny.
This writers' strike. They don't need those writers. Look at it. We just came up with the whole
Perfect.
probably 3
middle
movies.
name Spider-Man. James Spider-Man Bond.
I'm so down for that. Like Kevin James is, dude. In fact, somebody write the script right now where they're like, it's like he likes his soup shaken, not stirred. Like instead of his vodka, he's like, but I don't need soup anyways because I'm a sandwich guy.
He only wears cuffed pants.
Yes, dude, he's just got dad energy.
He's just got like this really souped up like spy version of the Segway.
No, it's got like it's like a spy lawnmower. It's like a spy lawnmower.
Oh my God.
A spy riding lawnmower. Because wait, didn't Kevin James he was Paul Blart Mall Cop,
yes.
right? Like there you go.
He's got enough training. He can do it.
Who else? I'm trying to think. Who else? Like Lizzo could be Moneypenny. Then we have Kevin James as James Bond, and then Lizzo as Moneypenny.
I only know one character.
And then M could be played by who's fat and could play M. This is mean, but
it's also played by Lizzo.
Yeah, Lizzo plays all the roles.
Identical twins.
It's just Kevin James featuring Lizzo.
It's kind of like Adam
Melissa
Sandler
McCarthy plays M. Melissa McCarthy plays M, and then
she
Lizzo
plays
Moneypenny.
She plays James Bond too.
But they're saying that Henry Cavill wouldn't be a good pick because he's Superman, and there's like baggage that comes with him also playing Superman.
Well, that's how I feel about Loki.
Plays all the characters.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you hire the same people to do all these roles. And the funny thing is, the weird thing about James Bond, in fact, I'm going to check the comments now. The James Bond argument is one of those things where, like, I always, whenever somebody asks you, like, who would be a good person to play that, my mind goes blank. Like, when I'm watching something, I see an actor, I'm like, oh, he'd be good in that role. But when I'm actually asked the question, it doesn't come to me.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of with you that Aaron Taylor Johnson doesn't really have Matt Smith. Somebody mentioned Matt Smith. Maybe Matt Smith might be a better Q than he'd be kind of a older for Q now, but
I don't know who else
they've made Q.
Yeah, I mean they're running out of options quick.
But the thing is, there's so many British actors. Okay, there's a couple of people that are saying Matt Smith. That's not a horrible idea. I wouldn't do it, but I bet you that they don't want the crossover with Doctor Who. Like they don't want those two inherently connected in the same way.
Right.
Though I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Matt Smith or Bern Gorman or David Tennant as Bond villains. Like
yeah. Who is the I can't think of one of the Skarsgård brothers.
There you
go.
One. There you go. Yeah, they'd be good villains.
Yeah.
They have the vibe of villains. Right? Like some people, like it's just unfortunate, but it's what I say about Cillian Murphy. Sometimes you just have a villain face. And that's not a bad thing.
You think he does?
Yes.
I think he's got an anti-hero face, not quite villain.
That you're saying that with Peaky Blinders in
general. No, because he was also in what's the movie with that Emily Blunt and John Krasinski did?
Quiet Place.
Quiet Place. Yeah. He was in Quiet Place too.
Yeah.
And now he's doing Oppenheimer.
I didn't see the second one.
Okay, so he's a hero. He's like this kind of like dark, mysterious guy who helps the family.
Eric from True Blood.
Is he? I never watched.
Deuce Boogaloo says Benedict Cumberbatch got to play Sherlock and Doctor Strange. Yeah, but I mean, I think Marvel superheroes like Doctor Strange isn't the same.
He's too dorky to be James Bond.
No, he's just saying that like when it's because we were talking about does Henry Cavill get to play both?
Oh yeah.
Like I get your point, but
yeah, but Sherlock was really niche when he was like while that was running. It had a very niche audience. Like at least in America, not many people knew about it. Like maybe now it's different. When it first came out, when it was still because remember, there's only 3 seasons.
What? It was a phenomenon right when it came out. People were like, how do I watch it? It's on the BBC.
You, at first, people were more interested in Robert Downey Jr.'s Sherlock because he was American.
Dude,
the movie version.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hate Sherlock Holmes.
But
Why?
Have you not seen Sherlock, the BBC?
What?
version?
I've seen. Okay, so I
That's
actually
really
made
good.
an entire
Leguizamo.
website based around Sherlock Holmes 1 and 2 with Robert Downey Jr. being the worst movies I've ever seen. Just so boring.
They were, but
I hate them.
I like the British one with Benedict Cumberbatch. Is pretty good.
I mean, I even like the Elementary with Johnny Lee Miller and Lucy Liu.
Gosh.
It's a completely different show, and it's barely Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Only in the most member-berry of respects is it like that. It's basically a police procedural, but I like Johnny Lee Miller as an actor. So we'll see where it goes. There could be a couple of them there. If anybody has any other suggestions, I actually like. The more I think about it, the Matt Smith one. I don't know if Matt Smith has the. He just has bad guy face. I don't know if I think that one is going to work. So he does. He's got bad guy face. So thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.